So we all know that Python is basically a command line program. It can be visual for sure, but currently, as we know it, it is just a command line program. And so it has to run on your command line. And sometimes you want to ask someone for some information. We can do that with the input function. And so let's say you want to make a command line game, or you want to accept some form of user input in raw Python. You're going to need to use the input function. Now, as a heads up, every time you ask for input from a user, even if they type in a number, it's always going to come back as a string. So let's give this a shot and I'll show you why knowing different data types is really, really important. So we could say, your age is going to be input, and we could say, what is your age? And just as an example, this is Python user input. This is just simply going to ask me what my age is. So I'm going to type 31. Does nothing, but it did ask me for my age before it exited the script. So that's pretty cool. It paused it on line 1. Then we can say dog years is equal to age times 7 and print dog years. Let's go ahead and give this a shot. What is my age? 31. And you notice that it says 31, 31, 31, 31, 31, 31, 31, 31, over and over and over and over again. And that's because age is coming back as a string. And we actually need that to come back as a number. So in the next lesson, we're going to be learning about casting. How do we turn this into a string? But for now, let's take the shortcut and let's just say this is going to be an integer. And so we're saying whatever this comes back as, if I type 31 or my name, it doesn't matter. It's going to try to cast that as a number, or as an integer rather. And so let's go ahead and run this one more time. 31, and I'm going to be 217 years old in dog years. Now this is honestly not the greatest example because we're getting ahead of ourselves by talking about casting. We haven't learned about casting yet. Instead, what we could do is we could say name is equal to input, what is your name? And then we can say print hello, and then the name. And when we rerun this, we're going to see Python user input. What is your name? My name is going to be Caleb. And it says, hello, Caleb. And there's an extra space. Let's go ahead and ditch that space. What is my name? My name this time is going to be Nathan. And it says, hello, Nathan. Hello, Caleb. And it stored whatever I wrote in here into this name input. And so now we can create some sort of guessing game. Or for our project, we can input some sort of value for, let's say, rock, paper, scissors. Now, the main thing to take away from this is you can ask for any sort of information, but it's always going to come back as a string. And that's why it was important to know strings, integers, floats, things like that. In the next lesson, let's go ahead and cast some data so that we can start working with this a little more appropriately. And casting, again, is as simple as running int or bool or something like that. We're going to look into that in the next lesson. Oakley dokley, let's take a look at typecasting. In the last lesson, we looked at it very, very briefly. And so typecasting is simply changing one data type to another data type. So if we wanted to change a string into a list, we could do that. We could change any of those into a Boolean or a dictionary or a tuple. And you'll notice that these words are being highlighted. This is normal text. And you can see is in Python is a keyword. So it's being syntax highlighted there. We've got string, list, bool, dict, tuple, set, etc., etc., etc. Basically, any data type that we've talked about so far, we can cast it. So let's go ahead and create an example here. Age is equal to input, what is your age? And then we can print the type of age. And in fact, let's throw this into its own variable. So data type is equal to function type. And then we throw whatever that value is. It's going to be a string. We know that all input is going to be a string. We learned that in the last lesson. Then we could go ahead and cast that age by saying, we know it's a string, turn it into an integer. And we're going to throw age in here. And so all we're saying is whatever age is, turn it into an integer and put it back into that same age variable. Then we can do the same thing, data type, and I just copied and pasted there. And let's move this just down a little bit here. And let's run this. Python typecasting. What is your age? I'm going to put, let's error this out. Caleb. I'm going to say Caleb is my age. Caleb cannot be turned into a number. Let's see what error pops up. we get a value error. Value literal for int with base 10. And so it's trying to turn Caleb into a number. Doesn't work that way. Let's try this again. What is my age? I'm currently 31. And we need to print this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to command click down here, or if you're on Windows, I believe it's just control click. And I'm going to type in 2 spots at the same time. Print, data type, new line. And so this is all of our code. Let's go ahead and give this a shot. What is my age? 31. And originally it was a string, and then it was an integer. Now we can work with that as an integer. We can say, print your age in dog years is, and then we could say age times 7. Let's go ahead and give this a shot. What is my age? 31. And it says your age in dog years is 217. And just as a fun fact, you're probably looking at this wondering why I use multiple parentheses here. Do we need this? Do we not need this? Whenever you have a question like that, it's always good to experiment. Experiment and then ask the question. So what is my age? 31. And it still works. All I did was clean that up a little bit by using parentheses around age times 7. That's all that was. Now this is one example. We can go ahead and create another example. Let's convert a list into a set so that all the items are unique. So let's say we've got a grocery list. Grocery list is equal to, and we need to pick up apples, oranges, nanners, bananas, and apples. And you can see here, and I just made that a touch smaller, you can see here that in my grocery list, I have apples twice. And so if I wanted this to be completely unique, what I could do is say this grocery list is equal to a set, because we know sets are completely unique. It's not going to hold its order anymore, but honestly, if we're doing grocery shopping, we don't need it to be necessarily in order. And then let's print this grocery list, And what this is going to do is return apples, oranges, bananas in any order. It doesn't matter what the order is, but apples is only going to show up once. We can also type of grocery list, and we're going to see that this is a set. So we know that up here, this is a list. We're casting it to be a set, so it's going to be completely unique. It's going to get rid of the 2 apples in here and turn it into just 1 apples. Then we're going to print our unique list, and we're going to make sure that it is, in fact, a set. So let's go ahead and run this. And we've got oranges, apples, bananas. We don't have apples in there twice, and we can see that it is, in fact, a set. Now, I have a particular task for you that I would like you to try. I want you to make a grocery list. It could have any foods in there, but it has to be a list. And then I want you to cast it as a tuple. And the idea here is you make your grocery list at home, and when you're at the grocery store, you're like, I don't want to be buying anything else, so that I have to stick to this list. I can't add anything, I can't remove anything, I have to get everything on this list. So cast it as a tuple, and then I want you to, just like we did here, print your list, or it's going to be a tuple, so print your tuple. And then I want you to print the type of variable that this is. So this should now say a tuple instead of a list. Go ahead and give that a shot. It's really important that you learn about typecasting because it is very important when we're working with user input. And what's the point of making a program if it's not going to accept any form of user input? We need to be able to accept user input, and we need to be able to cast things a certain way. Go ahead and try that out, and when you are done, let's head on over to that next lesson.